Okay, so we'll get on to the main body. We're going to talk about the clinic during that because that's one of the things that came up in the member survey. So what I'm going to do first of all is take you through the results, because I thought you might be interested. I sent them out in PDF, in a thing that you could read, for those of you that can use computers, Taffy. But we can print but there's more information in the actual system. What's quite clever, this thing's called Survey Planet, which cost us $20 a month to rent for a couple of months. And it's an online surveying system, which just made it much easier for you to respond and for us to collect the results. So I'm going to go into that system live, and then I've got a few slides just on the initials. No, we don't want to do that. We'll just go to that, please. So this is the survey, and I'll just take you through all the data that we got. Please do ask questions. I can show individuals' responses, so I found out all the people that hate the lodge and all the people that like the lodge and all those sorts of things, which was quite interesting actually. So we'll just go through all the questions. I'll show you the data we collected. Some of it's vaguely interesting, not very surprising. So this was the first question, which was, we wanted to understand the demography of the group, and not that surprisingly, we found a lot of us are over 65. So 52% of the club, more than half the club is over 65. Slightly more horrifically, over 46, 86% of the club is over 46, is over 45, so 46 and above. So that's why we've got to spend the $30,000 fairly quickly, because there won't be anybody left to enjoy it if we don't get on with that. I think that's that surprising if you look around the room, but it is pretty interesting when you look at that data.
It's a little bit misleading there with the under 16 part there, because we do have junior members, but
they didn't respond.
No, but they're part of families.
Oh, right, so that's true. Yeah.
So
that's true. Yeah. But I don't think there's that many of them.
Interestingly, the Facebook page membership is around the 35-45.
Really?
Age group, the majority. Yeah.
When you mean the page, not the group?
Sorry, the page.
Yeah. So but that's a lot of people who aren't members of the club. There's like 800 members in the page.
Yeah.
So that's people who are interested in Hamilton Angling Club. Yeah, that is a good point. So we should think about whether we want to do anything about that. It's not one of the initiatives I'm going to talk about, but we might want to, and actually, I don't know if you want to give an update on it, but you're doing some stuff with the kids fishing as a result of the meeting you had with Fish and Game. We should probably cover that when we go into the initiatives, actually. Well, I didn't put anything on the slide about that. What's also interesting about the membership is a lot of people have been members for a long time. So over a third of membership's been with the club for over 10 years. So it's a very loyal membership. But still quite a lot of new members. 22% have only been in the club a couple of years or so, and you see quite a lot of new faces around the room. So that's encouraging in the sense that we're adding members fairly regularly. This was interesting because we had a big discussion about this in the committee about what are people, is this a fly fishing club or is it a fishing club? And the truth is it's a fishing club, but it is, the predominant fishing that people do is fly fishing, and next to that is spinning and soft bathing and then sea fishing with bait. So I don't know whether that's a surprise to anybody, but this is an anglers club, it's not a fly anglers club.
But it seems to be historically that it's been targeted at fly fishing, and so it's attracted fly fishing anglers, and the other ones have gone to the likes of the Waikato Sport Fishing Clubs.
I think that's more sea anglers though, Carl, because there's a lot of guys like Taffy and John who trot, they primarily spin. And I know, Rodney soft baits and spins and things. And Richard spins a lot.
Yarns.
Sorry? Yarns, yes. So I think that's probably true in terms, and we did discuss in the committee whether we're a freshwater angling club. Is that part of our constitution? Those of you, Richard or Peter, that know the constitution, are we deemed to be a freshwater angling club?
Sorry, is that a question?
Yes. Does our constitution say that we're primarily a freshwater angling club?
Caught me off
Something like
guard,
that,
but,
yeah, fostering freshwater fishing, I think.
Is that right?
Yes, guys. He's been here right tonight. Yes, we are.
I think so.
Yeah. But this was just to see, we wanted to test what people primarily do. Thank you. Fresh and saltwater fishing club. Very good.
That's only recently changed though.
Yeah.
It just happens to say that on there. It's what's in our constitution.
That is the marketing material of the club. So it shows we don't really know what we are.
There's probably nobody in the club who exclusively fishes saltwater. Like, most of us would fish freshwater. I mean, we
Well,
all
Carl
fish
actually,
freshwater.
until yesterday,
Some
Carl.
fishing freshwater yesterday.
Yeah, but that's probably.
I probably freshwater fish twice a year.
Yeah, but there isn't, I mean, we're a freshwater fishing club, I would say.
Yeah.
That whose members also saltwater fish.
Yeah.
The course fishing is an interesting one because I take that, but I don't course fish, but I go and catch coarse fish, but not coarse fishing per se.
You mean you catch coarse fish on fly? is
Yeah,
what you're
that's
saying,
it,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. But I catch coarse fish on sweet corn.
Yeah.
So, and a few
So
people
that's
do.
course fishing, that was
Yeah.
it's kind of, yeah.
I catch fly fish on sweet corn.
But we just thought that would be interesting. This was interesting too, and I mean, we didn't actually learn very much from this point, but it was, why did you join the club? And the choices, which all ended up about the same score, really, were to meet other local anglers, to participate in evening events, such as tonight, to learn from club speakers, and to become a more successful angler, and to go on club organised trips. They all ended up, you know, within a gnat's whisker of each other, really, which I guess is not that surprising. So that was as expected. So this starts to get into the interesting stuff now. So 52% of the people who were surveyed. By the way, the response on this survey was astonishing. We had over 70% of the membership responded to this, which is a very, very, very high number. Typically, if you do a survey, and I think, Derek, correct me if I'm wrong, but you provided us with a survey that was done in like 1993 or something, which was amazing. It was a fantastically done manual survey, beautifully written up by somebody. I don't know who wrote it up, but they took a lot of time and effort to do it. But I think that got less than 30% response rate, whereas we got over 70% response rate. So thank you all for doing that. I think that's because the technology just makes it easier for you to do it. By the way, I was able to tell how long each of you took to complete the form. It told me that. You won't be surprised to know that Richard took the longest.
It was one very, very clever question, because I've done surveying 101. It was a very clever question in there.
So I can show you who took the longest and who took.
Do you spin or fly fish?
No, it's a weighted question.
But so the response rate was great, but it was interesting to see that about half the membership reckon they come every month to the meetings, which is probably about true. We've got about 25, 30 people in the room now. We've got 75 members, so that's about right. I mean, some people just live too far away. We've got quite a few people who live more than an hour away, so that's not surprising. But I thought that was good. And that was interesting because I didn't know what the number would be on that. This was getting very interesting. So and this is the reason we're recording this, is would you watch streamed or recorded content? And I really thought the answer to that would be very low. But actually, more than 50% of the membership that responded said they would like that. So they'd like to be able to watch it remotely or to play it back at some point in the future. And that, of course, is some of these guys who can't come. John Lau, who lives in Australia, I think, who comes on some of the trips. He actually pinged me directly and said, you know, I'm a member of Auckland Flying Club, AFAC, and they stream all their meetings, why don't we do that, blah, blah, blah. And as a result of seeing the question. But I was quite surprised at how many people wanted it online. So we are now putting them all online. And the last one that we put up was really good quality, actually. I was impressed.
And we're not doing them live because it would cost us about $80 a year to do it live, but for what could be done and just go up the next day.
Yeah.
So
Is that the whole meeting or just the guest speaker?
we are doing just the guest speaker, but I guess
We could do the whole meeting, Nigel.
I'm not saying we should, I mean, I just,
as it happens.
the orange blasted.
It's quite funny.
Yeah, but I'm kind of thinking people say things.
Oh yeah, that's
I
true.
like it.
Yeah, that might lead to the wrong sort of behaviour. But I thought that was interesting. I was surprised that. There's another question that surprised me really. So this was good. We were actually in committee debating how useful is the monthly newsletter. Carl puts an absolute ton of work into it, for which we're eternally grateful. It's a lot of work. And we were sitting around committee saying, do you think anybody actually reads the monthly newsletter? And we really had no idea. And we actually debated, so some kind people like Derek pay to advertise in it. We were saying, well, do they actually get anything out of that? Does it go to it? Does anybody actually look at it? And well, nearly 100% of the membership reads the monthly newsletter, is what we learned from this.
And we learned yesterday that one of the no's was actually converted into a yes
That's true.
because of
Yeah.
the question.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So one of the guys who was on the clinic yesterday with us said, I've never really bothered to look at the newsletter, but when you put that question about it, it caused me to read it, and I thought it was quite good, so now I read it every month. So we're now at like 98%. But that was quite interesting, so it meant that it is worthwhile. So this was why we wanted to do the survey, because we found some things out. And any other comments about the newsletter, things you'd like to have in it that we don't have in it? Deafening silence.
It's good.
It's tough to get content for it though, isn't it,
It
Carl?
is tough to get content for it. I know there's plenty of you out there fishing. We don't need photos of fish. You know, photos, and I mean, Russell's written stories about looking after waders and different bits and pieces.
Or putting a security tag on them.
And if there's anything you want added, I'm only an email away or a message away. Nothing's off limits apart from nudity.
Yeah, so please do send stuff. Yes, Nigel?
Or just wearing my other hat, and so one of our Fish and Game Council initiatives is having better communication with licence holders, and one thing that's been sort of hanging over my head is whether I should do a monthly or bi-monthly update of what Fish and Game is up to. And I'm just curious to see whether this club thinks that's a worthwhile thing, because it could be something that the chair
We could-
writes and
yeah.
goes in the newsletter of AFAC, North Shore,
Yeah, us.
Things Club. But
I think that would be really good.
I think it's a good idea.
I'd read it.
Yeah, definitely. And you write things pretty easily, don't you? So that would be good. Yeah, do that.
I have to now, don't I? Unless I don't get voted on again, in which case I'll
Speaking of which, register to vote.
we get to it.
Yeah, did you all get Nigel's email asking you to register to vote in the council elections? Otherwise, you can have a lot of duck shooters on the council of Fish and Game, which we don't want.
It's not, sorry, it's not like, oh, and usually I get the most votes out of any candidate. But it's still, it's disappointing that only 25% of trout anglers register to vote. And if you're not aware of it, it's something, when you buy your full season license, there's a little box that says, do you wish to be an elector? And if you didn't tick that this year, you won't,
Yeah, I had no idea until you sent that email around.
Yeah, so it's really just a reminder. I mean, it is nice to have, have the backing of, I think it is nice for the chairman to be the most supportive candidate in the region. I think it's just a nice thing to get. So it is something, but there are a lot of things happening. I mean, I don't really see this. I mean, we will have an election this year, which is good. But yeah, it would be nice. I mean, I went on Fish and Game Council because it was going to be 11 duck shooters. It was 11 duck shooters and me at one point. Now it's significantly better. And it's not an environment which is ducks versus trout. It's never been like that. But I think it's important just from all sorts of perspectives to have anglers on there.
I think that some communication between fishing game and hunting and fishing might need to be done there, because I've bought mine through hunting and fishing the last 3 seasons and never been asked.
So we thought that we'd sorted that because what's happened in our region, sorry, not mean to hijack it, so
That's
I
fine.
don't in our region it used to be that game bird hunters were very low on the registration, and we did some detective work and tracked that down to largely hunting and fishing. People would go in and buy their ammo and they buy their license, and game bird hunters all buy their license, in a very short period of time, and they tend to buy it at sports shops rather than online because they're buying ammo. And so we did a bit of an education campaign on the staff at sports shops to ask people if you want to be an elite, because they were just skipping straight past it. And so now I think that what's happened is they're probably defaulting. See, what you said doesn't support this, but they're defaulting to, yes, I want to vote, which is why game birds
Right, most of them are buying them in the shop, but they're getting promoted.
is twice as
That's
high.
interesting.
But from what Carl said, that might be different. But I think they're probably in the zone of doing it in the game bird season, whereas the fishing season, most anglers, most anglers do it online.
Yeah, I just buy them.
What were the numbers of anglers or fishermen or duck shooters? What sort of balance?
So in our region,
Yes.
It's about 2,900, roughly 3,000 anglers, 5,000 hunters.
5,000.
Yeah, so we're the biggest duck shooting region in the country.
Okay.
So revenue wise though, it's not, because the game bird license is $100, it's a lot less. So revenue license, I think last time I looked at it was 43.57%, so we're much more even.
Interesting.
So, but just, it's very easy, if you aren't sure, Fish and Game sent out an email a month ago to anybody who wasn't registered, and so 100,000 licence holders maybe sent out to 50, probably 60,000, 70,000, and they got 200 new registrations.
I didn't even
So
notice that
tiny.
email. That's amazing.
And don't register if you don't want to vote, because I think if you register and don't vote, it just costs $5 and license pays money. But it would be just encouraging people to vote, even if you don't vote for me. It's just
Next time approaching it, we can chuck it in the newsletter.
Yeah, that's a good idea. What do people think of the newsletter? Very good score, just under 4 out of 5. What do people think of the club? Pretty good too. I don't know what would be, I think 4 would be a great score. 3.6. So this is where we get the interesting stuff. What could Hamilton Angling Club do better? And every single person, not every single person, most people wrote some stuff on this. So we can go through all, that's why I did this online. I'm logged into the online system because we can see all the responses. In the summary that I sent you all, you only get like the first page responses. But it's quite interesting. This first point is a really good point. As a new member, I didn't get much information on how the club works. How do you do the raffle? How are trips organised? That's a really good point. I didn't think we'd really thought about that. Some positive things there. Organised club trips or coaching sessions on the local Waikato streams. Well done, Nigel. We did that yesterday. Actually, before we had seen this, but that was a really, really good event. We'll talk about some of the things we've done, but I think everybody that attended that enjoyed it immensely. But that was something, I can't remember who it was. I can go back through and find out who, unless you filled out the form anonymously, which you could do. More interesting speakers, sorry about that. Attract more women anglers. I think we have 6 female members in the club. That's all at the moment. Interestingly, I think I've now once more persuaded Rachel McNay, who's the captain of and runs a lot of ladies fly fishing stuff, to come and do a pitch about female fly anglers in New Zealand. She's reticent to do it, she doesn't think anybody's interested in it. But she's a member of Hamilton Angling Club, has been for ages, never comes to any of the meetings.
Occasionally sends in newsletter content.
Yeah, she's a great writer of content. She used to be a professor at the university, so she's a very smart lady and a very, very good angler. But when they run a Women on the Fly event in Taupo, which they did a couple of weeks ago, like 50 people attended. Taupo Angling Club has a very large female membership, but we don't have many female members here for whatever reason. So we should do something to promote that.
We're all too bloody old.
More detailed information on local fishing orders. We'll talk about that later on because Charlie, who's not here tonight because he's not feeling very well, is doing some fantastic work on that. Reduced dependence on Taltac. I mean, there's just lots of better facilities for our night venue. You know, go somewhere other than this building was an interesting comment. Bit more variety.
Keep the Orange Blaster Award brief. Well, we failed tonight.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry about that. Help protect local fishing access. We'll talk about that too. Load more. Utilise Facebook more. Post a yearly events programme. There's lots of great suggestions in here. More local focus on spots access techniques. We'll talk about how we're trying to do that. Encourage younger people. Meetings start at an earlier time. Can't think of anything at the moment. That's an interesting response. Try and attract a wider range of age groups. So there were some fairly obvious things, and I've boiled some of those down on a slide that I'll use to run, but some good contributions.
I didn't know I was first to respond.
Were you? Did you show up as that? No, I could tell you who was first to respond, but I think you were actually, yeah.
My response was the last one.
Oh, is that right? How interested will you be in the following activities if offered? This was one of the things we're really interested in. We've set aside an amount of money from our bank balance to spend this year on stuff, and so we have money to spend on things. And I guess the three top ones in this were clinics designed to improve angling technique. That was second. Top was local fishing trips, I guess unsurprisingly. So we'll try and do some of those, and we'll talk about that as part of the initiatives thing. More organised trips to other areas. Well, we're doing that, as you've heard Derek announce his trip tonight. But it seems like people would want more organised trips, more of them. Midweek trips got less support than I thought it might do, actually, given that most of us are too old to work. But we could easily do midweek trips if people were willing to do it. There's plenty of us that haven't got anything to do in the middle of the week. It's loading now. So this is a hot topic. Here we are. Have you ever visited the club lodge at Arapuni? 60% of the people said they had, which was more than I suspected. And then we said, why do you or don't you use it? And there's a great range of answers here. The top one I love the most. I don't have a boat, also I snore, which could be a problem for others.
Well, we can fix that.
But so very varied views on the lodge, and it sort of polarised into people who said, I'd love to use it more, but for whatever reason I'm too busy, or whatever, I don't. Other people said everything from, there's no cell phone reception, which isn't true, by the way. There's no mobile phone, so it's dangerous, to the fishing's lousy, to, I'm worried it might burn down and I'll die. So other people just said they'd like to do that more. My age is a barrier, 70 plus. The lodge proved to be pretty primitive. So there was a mixture of things, but I would say about half of the answers were positive and half of them were negative.
Oh, that's a very interesting answer.
Which one's that?
Bottom one there. I have no interest in fishing Arapuni. It is an uninspiring fishery. The surrounding areas are unattractive.
Yeah, as I say, it was very polarising. So it was interesting. But any other comments on that? As the lodge lover, John, do you want to say anything about it? I think the truth of the matter is Arapuni is not an easy place to fish, but if you know what you're doing, you can catch a load of fish there. I mean, John and Taffy go there regularly and catch tons of fish.
I see lots of rudd there when I go.
You see lots of what?
Rudd. I've never caught any, but
Okay. Easy to catch.
You just need sweet corn.
Right.
I just use
Or bread, yeah.
I just use a little white fly when I'm here.
Nigel, you've been very restrained on the topic of the
sorry,
lodge.
no, I thought that question was simply, have you been there and would you use it?
Well, it was.
It wasn't asking what should happen to it.
Well, it said, why do you or don't you use it? Which was what we were interested in finding out, really.
Yeah, I guess my views around. Well, no, actually, I mean, I don't mind presenting my views as just devil's advocate because I mean it doesn't bother me particularly, but I guess I have three. Yeah, so I mean, I guess I have three thoughts around the lodge. One is generally the club finances every year a third. So we've got $1,000 in the bank. We spend $1,000 on expenses and another $1,000 on running the lodge, subsidising the lodge. I guess that's one argument. The second argument is I think it's for me, it would be a major impediment to going on the committee because of liability. I'm not paranoid about these things. I mean, I know, you know, I'm in the game in terms of fish and game, potentially in terms of liability, and I know there are things, if something happens, you know, I could end up in jail, you know, because if we don't do our job properly. But I do think the lodge, I mean, essentially the club is renting out a building which is not compliant, I guess I'd say, so a non-permitted woodwork. Bars on the window which would prevent, this is last time we did, bars on the window that if there was a fire in there, people wouldn't be able to escape out of the bedrooms. And I guess in this, and in the sum of it, I'm like, oh, you know, that's the kind of thing that potentially is the downside of that from the committee's perspective. You know, if something did happen in the lodge and somebody died of carbon monoxide poisoning or something, you know, that there is massive kind of health and safety liability there, which I wouldn't be comfortable with if I was on the committee. And I guess the third thing is, you know, we don't know if it could be sold or not. Potentially, if it can be sold, you know, potentially there's 50 grand, just to put a number on it, that could be, instead of the club subsidising, you know, losing $1,000 a year on a lodge that not many members use, there's quite a lot of money potentially tied up in there that could go to other things. And I mean, I know John legitimately be staring daggers at me. And I guess I don't feel like I'm like, hey, Nigel's advocating for this, because it is a club decision and I don't feel enormously strongly about it, but I guess those are my 3 points. And my suggestion around that is to simply, the committee do some work on quantifying the risks, but also quantify the potential rewards. Get a real estate agent out to come out and have a look and say, hey, you know, what's this potentially worth? That won't cost you a cent. And it would sort of put some numbers around the cost side and the benefit side. And then that would be some information that the club could potentially work with, and also have a look and see whether it could be sold, right? I mean, I remember looking at the agreement and it says if we no longer want it, the club has to pay the cost of, you know, to remove it. But you know, it's just really put some information around that so the club can evaluate the lodge.
I'm on the committee. I'm not aware that the gas fire, the wood fire is non-compliant.
Well, it's non-consented.
I'm not aware that it's a safety issue.
Doesn't matter, it's the safest houses. It's safer now than what it was in the early 1990s.
Yeah, let's not debate it now. I think what we should take away from this, and we have talked about it in committee, is we will have a committee meeting dedicated to discussing the lodge.
I think we need to do a site visit as a committee.
We've never got around to that, but we will do that before the end of the year. So let's just put that in the minutes. that we will do that as a committee.
Why do we organise a little fishing trip up there? Like we've done before, and have midday, have lunch up at the
Yeah,
lodge.
we can do that.
And anybody who can come up to that and have a
Yeah.
look and let's get that their opinion.
That's a good idea, Taffy. We should do that again.
We can go for a fishing trip and citizens.
Yeah.
I was put off that trip because it was predominantly fly fishermen on boats. I think there was only one trolling boat, and I was like, I can't fly fish.
Well, no, there were several trolling boats actually. But okay, we'll do that. I think that's a good idea, Taffy. We'll do that, and we'll have a committee meeting dedicated to it. So, this was a big topic and one I'd like everybody to try and have a bit more of a chat about. So we have said as a committee, we got all this money, we're all going to die soon, let's spend it. I'm bracing to make the point. We should spend some of our $30,000 because it's not, we're getting a bit of interest on it, but we're not a financial institution. We might as well spend it for our enjoyment. So we said that we'll spend up to $5,000 of the club's money this year on something. The question is, what do you guys want to spend it on? So that was the purpose of this question. And top of the list was subsidised angling technique clinics. So we will plan some of those. We did the one yesterday, but the cost was so trivial, it wasn't worth subsidising it, frankly. Ironically, the second highest scored one was provide more facilities at the club lodge. But that should really depend on what we're doing with the club. But subsidised trips, club equipment. So just tell me, can we just, people put their hands up and say what they think about? If we said to you, right, we can spend $5,000 tomorrow, what do you want to spend it on?
But how serious are you about your kids fishing, kids fishing project in terms of providing a place to go and fish in Cambridge to segue into that? And I guess all I'm saying is, potentially $1,000 for signage or something in there might be something that the club would.
That's interesting.
Do.
Is it something that we could apply for funding for instead of using our own money?
Potentially, sorry, can we log that and then we probably.
Yeah, sure.
Anyway.
What else? John?
Take a step back and ask ourselves what our purpose is. Is our purpose to enrich the experience of the members? Tuition on techniques, access, trips, camaraderie, sharing.
Yeah, I would say so.
Or is it to promote fly fishing as a pastime, encouraging female members, children? That's the first question, is what is the club for? You have to define that before you can decide.
That's a question I forgot to put in the survey, John. Well done.
They're not mutually exclusive, those things. You can do both.
Yeah. I would say all of the above.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to spend some money on O-Week for both Waikato University and Wimtech, being able to give away do some giveaways and promote the club to the age group so that we're not predominantly over 45.
Yeah, that's a good proposal.
Bring in the Ollie Bassetts of the world.
Yeah.
Just a point based on the age of the membership. One club I belong to bought a very, very important piece of equipment. It's a defibrillator machine.
Yeah.
Seriously, and they take it on every meeting they go on, and it's been used twice in 5 years.
Really?
Yeah. But that's just because of our age,
Yeah,
We're just
sure.
saying most when I'm 70,
Yeah.
and so they bought it. I don't know how it works through St John's or whatever, but it's been a lifesaver in New Zealand.
Yeah.
The Caravan Association has 7 machines amongst
Really?
the other. But that's just, you're going to spend
Yeah, it's a
money,
good idea,
based on the age of the membership.
yeah.
Whether or not that would go down well, I don't know, but.
I think they're available to rent if we were using them for trips.
Got a couple of people.
I work with St John's, so I can sort that out.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's good.
I've actually asked them more about it.
Thank you. That would be great.
And Chris,
Melanie, you had something to say?
I couldn't quite hear what you were saying, Carl, but it was something about perhaps funding from the union and Wimtech. How we for Wimtech, we're
not funding from Windjek, but when they have their O-Week events, have some of us go there and be giving away prizes and things and promoting the club at the O-Week event where they have all those societies.
Yes, that would be a fantastic
Have a go at
idea.
fly fishing day.
Because I would really love to have more women here. I feel quite lonely often.
Yeah, I
We'd,
bet.
we'd love to have more women too.
Their wives won't let us.
I don't know, we're doing something wrong, we're putting them off.
Women fly fishers, that's what I would like to see
Yeah.
more places. So I don't feel like sticking out like a sword.
Sure, yeah, no, I get that completely.
We love having you round.
Charlie, I should have asked that girl on the...
Oh, yeah, that's
the
right.
Red Hut. If she wants to join the club.
That's true, that would have been a good idea. John, did you have something else you wanted to say? You look like you do.
Well, you put, just promoting the club, I think they should, something should be done on promoting the club. And changing the average age group of the,
Yeah,
of the group, I think that's really
that would
important.
make sense, yeah.
We need to
So let's-
market ourselves more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
A number of years ago, one of the boat shows when they had it here in Hamilton, we had a kink up there with tying flies in front and created a hell of a lot of interest.
yeah, in fact, we got invited to take part in something at Lake Carapiro last year, but can you remember what that was, Peter? It clashed with something, unfortunately. We had a double book, it was the same weekend as we were doing a trip.
As the salt fly,
Sorry?
yeah.
Mystery Creek, yeah, well, next to my
there's
house.
one that just happened, I think, in Rotorua.
Right, but that would cost thousands to attend that. But the thing at Carapiro, I can't remember what it was, but we were invited to have a stand free of charge, and it just happened that the weekend they only told us like the week before, and we already had a trip, had a club trip somewhere.
I think it was
But-
my trip that clashed with.
Maybe, yes, it did. Yeah. So those are all good suggestions.
One of the things that we did with our surf fishing club, obviously we are facing the same problem, and the club is still facing the same problem that we're discussing here, was we went to the local tackle shops and said, hey, if somebody comes in and buys a surf rod, why don't you hand our card out? And so two of the shops actually clipped the club cards to the surf rods. So we found that had an effect. But we used to do the show every year when they had the Tackle Expo in Rotorua, and we used to have an area which we had to pay for. But on observing what was happening, trying to encourage younger people, we actually found it went the other way for one particular reason. Because respectfully, I'm not trying to offend anybody here, but this is the fact of the matter. You had a 200-year-old man trying to talk to a 16-year-old, didn't work.
Right.
Just did not work. And you have to get the young people talking to the young people if you're going to improve things.
Well, we could get nowhere to do that.
Yeah, that's the point I was trying to make,
Yeah.
because we used to do it, every time the expo came up, we were there.
And they just see us.
The better one was getting the tackle shops on side and getting them handing out information on the club. So you bought the right rod. You're into surf fishing? Well, hang on. There's a club in town,
That's a good idea.
Rotorua Casting and Angling Club, which initially was actually a freshwater club with Frank Lord, the famous fly tail.
Our cards and brochures are in Fish City and Hunting and Fishing.
Yeah, they probably don't get them out though.
No.
So we actually got to the rods. We actually got it on the rods.
Brilliant.
Good
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We just had
our
a
next
beautiful
speaker is from
card,
Hunting and
a yellow
Fishing.
card made up. But we're not alone with what we're discussing based on my involvement with
Sure.
two other clubs,
Just,
which is the RAA and Rotorua Anglers Club.
So what I'm hearing is you'd like us to market the club, use some of that money to market the club more, to younger people specifically,
But you need younger people to be
to help do
marketing
that
to young-
marketing, yeah.
Yeah, because that
Carl's
talking
younger.
language we don't understand.
That's why he's wearing shorts.
Thanks, Carl.
No pain, no brain. Where are all the children of our members?
Tucked up in bed. Where should they?
They've all emigrated.
Like mine's 12, so he's not allowed out this late.
My youngest is 43.
And so is your grandchildren.
Yeah, so we have the grandchildren.
Wellington.
It's a good
But-
point, we don't bring our family along to the meetings, do we?
See, that's where
I
I'm
actually used to bring his son,
With
yeah.
raising grandchildren, in the weekends, I'm absolutely to support my wife caring for a 4-year-old and 7-year-old, and occasionally a 9-year-old. But they are there with us all the time. So one of the things I put up was, hey, I can do a bit of fishing at the beginning of the week, at the end of the week, but weekends at this stage are absolutely out. There is no possibility that I can do it. So that's why I was sort of, obviously he's 4, but I need him to be 44, if you know what I mean. I need him to grow up. So it is difficult, and that's one of the reasons why I joined the club, was to see if I could start integrating, what I love as a passion, which is fishing, and somehow integrate the grandchildren, especially the boy, because the girl's into makeup. She's going to be a makeup artist. I want to see that. So that's to answer your question. That's just my personal quandary.
Nigel, you got another point?
Of course I do. And Gavin might have some feedback on this, but it seems to me, one of my perspectives on this is that we do kind of have, I imagine we do have a lot of young people who are, I would call them like associate members of the club by way of the Facebook page. So I imagine that old people quite happy to come and sit in the drafty hall on a Monday night, and the young people that we might want in the club are already there probably on the Facebook, in the Facebook group. And so, and it comes back to John saying, what is the club? What is the club? Because if we think of clubs, your survey shows most people come to meetings, most people read the newsletter. We have this other part of the club, which is the Facebook side of things, which I guess there's an opportunity to integrate that. So, for example, I'm just saying, for example, if we were running more clinics,
Yeah, that would attract
open
people,
it up
for
to the
sure.
Facebook group.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm saying, maybe we look at having an associate member, or just rethink what the club is. So club members who have paid their $40 get first in on trips and clinics. But maybe after that we just say, hey, Facebook, anybody want to come to this clinic? This is what you pay. Maybe it's cheaper if you're a club member, whatever. But you certainly get second bite at it if you're a Facebook member. But if there's a way of pulling those Facebook people in there, it sort of bypasses a lot of. I guess I'm suggesting those Facebook people that already have an association with the club. We just need to offer them something, because we're actually not really offering them.
What percentage of those people, you may know this, Gavin, that's what I'm looking at you, I'm going to ask you, how many of them are in New Zealand?
Yeah, I'm just trying to look at that now.
Because, some of them will be the Prince of Malawi and things like
Yeah.
that.
Out of the 900, 782 are in New Zealand.
Yeah.
Okay, so the majority are in New Zealand.
And 165 are in Hamilton.
Okay.
And not all of our members of our group like the page too.
Sorry,
Do you know
say it
that?
again slowly.
Yeah, I'm just.
So the Facebook people that are inside the Facebook group,
Yeah.
not all of them like the page.
Oh, you mean they haven't clicked the button?
They haven't clicked the button, so they're not.
Yeah, so just so, so let's move on a little bit. I think we got the idea we need to do some more marketing to a different demographic. This really surprised me, which was the question here was, do you have a Facebook account? 80% of our members, or the membership that responded, said they have a Facebook account, which really surprised me. I thought it would be much lower than that.
So the question is, how many of them look at it?
Well, I assume if they've got it, they look at it. But just so you're clear, we have two things. We have a page, which anybody can be a member of, and as I say, I'm sure the Prince of Malawi is a member of the Facebook page. What I mean by that is anybody can be a member. And when we post something like we put up some pictures last night of the clinic that Nigel and Tom ran yesterday, and the Tongariro River Motel says what a great job and all that. So there's people on there who they're not people even, they are people, but they're not people who would become a member. But it is interesting if 165 people who are on our page are in Hamilton. That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah.
We talked about that, Kevin, didn't we? We
Yeah.
figured there's 200 to 250 within our
Catchment area, yeah.
which is, you know,
That's quite a lot, because the group is, you can only be a member of the group if you are a member of the club.
Yeah. And if
Theoretically.
that's where the young people are, and they just don't want to come along to meetings, and they're a little bit worried about coming up.
Yeah.
But that seems like a really easy way to target some strategies.
I think we'd have to do some things that would interest them.
Our young people aren't even on Facebook anymore.
No, that's right, they'll be on.
Facebook's 30 to
Facebook's for old
50.
people, yeah, I know. They're all on TikTok now, Nigel.
TikTok, Snapchat, and Instagram.
But even this, I was surprised at how many of you folks are on Facebook.
It's probably safe to assume all the people that are members that didn't answer that question probably don't have a Facebook account either.
Yeah, sure, yeah. I subscribed to the Facebook page, that's the public thing, or the group. It was about 50-50 actually. I guess I can't remember whether you were allowed to say both on here. It was multiple choice, you could have both. This is a great initiative that Nigel's played a large part in. So one of the things that a lot of people said was, what we'd like, one of the reasons we joined Hamilton Angling Club is we hope that people would tell us where to go fishing and where they might catch some fish. That was certainly one of the reasons I joined. But it's actually quite difficult to achieve because it is in New Zealand. Fishing, although they can tell you roughly where to fish, to tell you exactly where to fish is quite difficult. And clearly a requirement from a lot of people was to get more local fishing access. So one of the things that came out of this clinic we did yesterday and the other work that Nigel's been working on with us is to have some relationships with Fish and Game around adopting a river or a number of rivers. Do you want to talk about that for a minute or two, Nigel, and just explain that?
Just the one what we talked about yesterday, so it came from an initiative from the club when I was talking here, and it's like, hey, why don't we do access signs, and then that morphed into, how about we look after the river. So the person who farms below Whites Road below the Te Waiho walkway on the Waiho is a client of mine. So I said to him, hey, how about we work together? Simultaneously, Fish and Game AGM last year was, hey, can Fish and Game set up in the same way as we make a lot of wetlands for the duck hunters. It was a duck hunter suggestion actually, hey, why don't we do the same for a river? So it was like, can we find an area that we work on intensively developing, which is not a game bird habitat but trout habitat. So those things, knowing the landowner, Hamilton Anglers Club, approaching, suggesting the idea, and Fish and Game trying really well with Fish and Game objectives. So I talked to the landowner in Charlie, and he wants a lot of repairing work done. Fish and Game can help with that. So Fish and Game, ultimately my suggestion for the club and for him and for Fish and Game is Hamilton Anglers Club works in a three-way partnership. Maybe plants 500 trees a year, which he doesn't want people willy-nilly accessing, driving through his farm. You can walk if you want, that's no problem. My vision, I think, is probably is saying, hey, like what I said to him, if Hamilton Anglers Club 4 times a year has a Saturday where they come in and we do an hour and a half's work, 10 people planting 500 trees is about an hour and a half's work. And then 3 months later, it's come back and release the trees. And so you come in, you do the work, and then you go fishing for the day. And I'm kind of like tying those two things together. Certainly talking to people on the clinic yesterday, that seems like a very palatable way of doing things, because otherwise, unless there's a team within the club that really get in and take the whole thing over, it's the chance of failure is quite high. Fish and Game can help on consent that there's a lot of glyceria to spray on and spraying and stuff that they're doing along the river. Health and safety measures, they'll be just contractors or Fish and Game will sort that out. So it's Hamilton Anglers Club doing what they do best, I think. The landowner being really happy about the relationship, and it's a beautiful section of river. So we're directly downstream from Whites Road. So the proposal, I guess, is that it starts tree planting next winter. So we looked at an area yesterday, which is a nice area away from the river. It's not going to be sprayed when they deal with the Glyceria, and we work on that, say, from the autumn. So that's the proposal, which is entirely verbal at this stage, but.
I think it's a great idea, and you know that's why I asked a question on the survey, and 85% of the people said they'd be prepared to help maintain local rivers in return for access. So the idea is we have a voluntary working party 4 times a year. We'll put out a note. Everybody that turns up comes and does a bit of work for a couple of hours, and then they got the rest of the day to go fishing on a piece of water that otherwise is quite difficult to get access to. And then, you know, we'd expand it probably over time.
We'll
So,
have the defibrillator by then.
yeah, we'll be using the defibrillator.
Will we be changing different farms each year?
Well, my vision with this farm is there's a decade worth of work in this farm. You know, and that's, you know, however that works. I just imagine 4 times a year where it's do a little bit of work and then go fishing on a nice piece of water.
It'd be very sociable as well. I mean, yesterday, apart from the fact that we all learnt quite a lot, it was just nice to have members out on a local, you know, half an hour's drive away, local bit of water. We spend as much time sitting around during the fat as we did actually fishing, when that's half the fun of it. So, and we used to do these working parties back in England. I was a member of the committee of Grafton Water Fly Fishers, and our issue there was we wanted to take foliage out of the venue so that you could fish the bank. We had this massive lake that belonged to the Water Authority, but it was terribly overgrown, so you couldn't get to a lot of the bank. So we used to do what we called bank clearance parties every couple of weeks through the certain times of the year, and people used to enjoy it. You know, we'd only do it for, and we'd give them a slight reward, but basically they'd come and spend a morning clearing the banks, and that just made the fishing better for everybody that was there, and this is the same concept.
It does work. The club that I've been a member of for nearly 20 years, for 50 years, have been looking after a stretch of beach on the Maratau Strait there, opposite their club rooms, and every year they do massive plantings. There would be hundreds of thousands of plantings that they've done every year, and it does work because we always used to put a really slap bang feed on every year, you know, that I was the president of the club and bits and pieces, and that's how it kind of worked. Yeah. The only thing that we did stop was the alcohol. We found that as time went on that became a problem, but there has to be a whiff in this stuff. You have to have what's in it for me.
Yes, of course. Well, this would be a good day's fishing.
Exactly. So that's the promotion component.
Yeah.
The actual getting the work done is not the issue. It's giving people a reason to actually be there.
Sure.
And so that's where a lot of the youngsters came along with their parents or their grandkids, and they're out there doing planting along the dunes and protecting the dunes. So yeah, it's something they still do.
So I think that's a great idea, and that had pretty much universal support. So that's the survey. I'll go to the. I've got a set of slides that sort of summarises it. Any other comments or questions people want to ask about the survey, or comment on it, or feedback, or no, all of it already. So these are what I took as the key findings. I thought it was a terrific response, as I said. The membership is older than you might expect, but is very loyal. The most popular form of fly fishing is fly. Actually, I put followed by sea, but isn't spinning was second. 50% of members attend meetings. 50% saw value in videoing the meetings, which surprised me. 96% read the newsletter, which is very encouraging. And it has a very strong approval rating. 80% of the members have Facebook accounts, which was a big surprise to me. 60% of members have visited the lodge, and we have very mixed views on that. I think we've had a good conversation about that, and the committee will undertake to organise a trip there and then have a serious discussion about what the future of the lodge should be. People would generally like more local club trips. And when we talked about how we spend money, actually marketing the club didn't come up. Maybe that's because I didn't put that as an option, but I think that's a very valid suggestion. So just talking about the initiative, any other ideas before we get into it? And then I'll tell you, oh, no, I'm sorry, I've screwed this up. That's what I wanted to just go to next, and then we'll get into discussion. So here are some things that we've talked about. First of all, as I said, we've got $5,000 to spend. We don't have to spend it, but you know, I think we're not in a mode where we're cost controlling. We would like to spend some of the money, is the attitude. So some local fishing programs, we've talked about adopting the Waiau. This is a very interesting program, the second thing. So Charlie, who's sick at the moment, been a member of the club for many, many years, I'm sure most of you know him. He's just retired from work, and he said he's going to, over the next 6 months or so, document all the Waikato streams. Now, Nigel, interestingly, did that in his own sort of ad hoc way some years in the past, but Charlie's going to do an up-to-date version of that, but with diagrams of where you get access to them, photographs, all that kind of stuff. And then we're going to make that available only to members. So I think that's a terrific piece of work, and we're going to help Charlie with his expenses to do that. But I think that's really something that, particularly for people who are new to the area, new to the country in my case, or new to the club, I think that would be hugely helpful. One of the things we have to think about is how we stop that, how we control that in terms of it getting to other people. You know, we'll work on that subsequently. But I think that's going to be a great piece of work. We'll update you on that as it goes further. The nymphing clinic we had this weekend that Nigel and Tom phenomenally put on, I think it was great. Anybody that was on it want to comment on it? Phil or?
Yeah, it was very, very useful. Great way to learn a new technique and have a bit of practice. Like maybe learning's not quite a bit strong. Have a go at a new technique. You know, in this case here, Euro nymphing for me. Friendly and professional advice, really useful, and a very pleasant, experience. More than please.
I think we'll try and do some more. I don't know how. Maybe we'll do one in the summer or something like that.
I did promise you I'd do a summer one and a winter one. So summer one we're thinking about dry fly based or top half of the water column based. So dry flies, wet fly, spiders. And I guess it's just, is that something that interests people?
Yeah.
And I would, if anybody's got any, I'm interested if anyone's got any negative feedback, because it is tricky. Like 12 people.
I think you set an unreasonable expectation with your first cast.
Yeah, Nigel caught a fish right off the bat.
But it is, I mean, I am quite happy to have Eddie's constructive feedback, positive and negative. And we were, Charlie and I talked a little bit about, do you have fewer people on the clinic? I'm a fan of just having more and saying, hey, when I said, hey, if you want to just go fishing or if you want to come and grab Tom or I and we'll work with you. We weren't exactly in that, so a lot of people were quite happy to go off and just practice here. And if they're practicing one thing or they're just going fishing, that's fine. But I mean, some feedback on that from people who there would be good. But personally, I think 10 or 12 was quite a comfortable number.
Yeah, it was really good.
But at the end of the day, it's fairly like, I know I can spend time with you, I definitely. But Tom did. So. Yeah, any feedback, but just a summer one, dry fly one, interest people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Another thing we could do, I mean, particularly when people didn't talk about midweek events, is if the Rotorua stream mouths start fishing again, we could just all get together on a midweek. I wouldn't recommend going there at the weekend, it's just too manic. But if a bunch of us went down there,
just do a day trip.
Because it's a fairly easy run, it's an hour and a bit to Rotorua, the fishing's brilliant. I've bumped into Roy there and Jeff there, but we could have 10 of us go there. There's room for 30 people there, frankly. So we could do that as a midweek type event. I've got some specific techniques that I use there that are a bit different than most people, so be happy to show people that. So anyway, I think that, we'll do more of that. And I think yesterday was a great start. I don't know whether you've all received them. I think everyone that's here has, haven't they, Jeff? This idea of having a sticker that you put on your car that says Hamilton Anglers Club responsible member, and we debated that terminology a little bit. But we just wanted to, if you're going to ask for access from farmers or discuss that or park your car after you've agreed that, it sort of identifies you as a little bit more than some person who's just blown in off the boats or whatever. I don't know what the right term is. But it identifies you as somebody who's a member of a club and has a real interest in participating in fishing. So that was the idea of those. So if you haven't got those stickers, make sure you get one from Jeff.
Do we want more inter-club, or not more, inter-club events? Because I know that Tauranga do monthly trips and they're interested in doing trips with us.
What sort of trips?
Well, they go to the TT, they go
Do
they go down, most of the trips that we do, they do.
Yeah, sure. Well, I know that, AFAC and North Shore have a competition. I mean, we could do, yeah, absolutely, yeah. No reason not to.
Michael is the guy, the president over there.
Yeah, but send an email connecting me and him if you could.
Okay.
So we've got a few more trips set up. We've got the 2 Oda trips now. We had 2 sea fishing trips. We've got 1 sea fishing trip due to lack of demand. I will run a trip to Anafenra in March because there's particularly good facilities for staying right next to the lake there. So I think we will have plenty of trips, but maybe some more local trips is a good thing. But what other things would you guys like? So the next slide just says, thanks for taking part and other ideas and discussion.
Well, just on the people doing stuff, one of the clubs I belong to, if someone's going fishing, they basically put it on Messenger, hey, I'm heading off to such and such, and then other people see that and then they go and join them. It's become quite a thing, where people are just saying, hey, I'm heading off tomorrow, I'm going to be fishing the mussel farm, or I'm going down to a Potiki or whatever. They just put it up, and if somebody's at all seen, they go back and say, I'll see you there tomorrow. So we could do that very easily on Messenger.
Yeah.
And the other thing is whether or not for the AGM you have a subsidised dinner where you can bring your partner or your wife or whatever along, so you get to talk to other people, they get to integrate and see what's going on. It's just something to put on the table. And, for your AGM.
We can discuss that. Yeah. Anything else? Remember, no such thing as a bad idea.
So so we can just, so I could just pull out my phone and send, sorry, I'm being really ignorant here, but I figure if I don't know, there'll be other people who don't know. I could just send an email to Hamilton Inns Club on Messenger saying I'm going fishing.
Yeah, that's
without it going on.
Yeah, they have the rubber anglers. That's what they do. Yeah, I can show you on my phone how it works.
I think there's a creative group, though, yeah? The creative
When
group.
you get things coming up like, wow, I've just caught a 30-pounder.
I don't know.
You get the guys going back saying, liar, So sort of communicate on it, And the worst one you get is a Charlie. I'm stuck on the beach. Is anybody around to tow me out?
I've got my 4-wheel drive
Use
now.
the messenger,
Yeah,
that's
we
how they
use
sort of
the kids'
communicate.
sports teams, that's all done through.
And it's only the club members that connect, you have to have it, so it's only the club.
So
members.
can we do that through the group?
I think, no, that's a separate thing. I think you've got to set up a group,
With the groups, I believe you can set up a messenger group that's linked to the group, messenger chat that's linked to the Facebook group.
Yeah.
Okay, we could probably do
And a
that.
lot of the conversation on that club goes through the messenger.
And there's
Because it's not
subgroups that you can do under
it's all-
messenger
it's all
too.
a bit
It's
fun.
We do it
complicated.
by email. I mean, I sent one out this afternoon
Yeah.
by email, but it's just kind of easier.
It's really.
Yeah, it's quicker, yeah.
Yeah, and the phone goes ding, 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 so you know it's that, so you open it up and have a look at what's going on.
Facebook page, couple of-
And for those that can't go fishing a lot, it keeps you involved with the club because you actually know what's going on.
And young people, if I put out a message saying, hey, I'm going to the Whakapapa tomorrow, anyone want to come? I mean, I know if you're a university student and you're going, if I can get a free lift without having to pay, that doesn't worry me. I'm quite happy to take people and not get gas money. It might help with, having.
And they're posting pictures of their catches and stuck vehicles and just all sorts.
So let's discuss that next week, how we set that up.
Yeah. The only thing is
The committee meeting
the
next week.
ping, but we can teach people how to mute notifications.
I mean, otherwise it'd be irritating.
Yeah, so if anyone wants a clinic or anything on how to set up a Facebook group, how to set up a Facebook account for themselves, how to put it on their phone, just get in touch with me, I'll help you out.
That's you, Taffy.
I'm going to take care of you for about half a day.
Okay.
That's just when people are running into trouble. You know, they message, hey, I'm busting off my cast all the time. And when we actually, us guys are looking at it, you know, all the guys are going back, are you doing this, are you doing that? So there was a communication with this particular person. And then we found out that they were winding the line on backwards on their casting cannon, which was locking the line on. And every time they cast, there was a 6 ounce sink in the bait, and it shocked me to go into the sea. But because he was able to, hey, you know, what's going on? And then it was like, oh, everything's okay. So.
And then there's the function that you can search within the group chat too, so you can
You can find related questions.
You could, so you don't have to ask the question again.
And it's become self-moderating, you know, if somebody uses a swear word or something, you know, someone will jump on and say, hey, you know, enough of that. So, because all the guys are looking at, you know, it's going ding ding. So, you know, we've got guys in Australia that, you know, no longer, you know, active members of the club, but because they were members, they're still involved in it. So, you know, they're saying to members, oh, have a good fish this weekend at the club meet. And so it's become quite a way of communicating. You certainly know what's going on. Anyway, I'll leave that on.
Anything else?
Yeah, one thing I always have difficulty with geographical access is easy enough, but it's the finding the landowner.
Me too, yeah. Actually, how do you get to the water?
Yeah.
That's what Charlie's going to put in his document.
And getting permission from finding the landowner to be able to vote with them.
If we get that permission, then we would do that. Yeah.
But I wonder whether signage.
Well, that's a big topic. I mean, Nigel and I talked about Fish and Game used to sign some locations. Fish and Game like to signpost them. The concern here is that do local anglers really want signs up saying great fishing here and have a load of people come from Auckland and fish the places that we fish?
Well, your freedom campers turn up for a week and fish it out and eat all the fish.
You know, that's the problem.
Or it might not be everyone that can access it. Only that landowner might be happy for Hamilton Anglers Club members to go, but not Joe Blogs.
You can't negotiate exclusive. I mean, exclusive access that's a tricky one, and that is one condition. You know, that's anything with working with fishing games. It's like you can't have a club or a guide or that's the negotiation.
But if we adopt the river and we're planting on their thing,
no. But what we could do potentially is to say, hey, if somebody's got a Hamilton Anglers Club sticker on their car, can they? Well, as long as we don't say, can we get in there and you
No
don't
one else.
let anybody else. All we would say is, can we get in there? Just addressing your access thing. That is something that councils, the staff are doing at the moment. We had a letter which, and we've debated. You know, with half the population of the country living in our region, we've kind of got no anglers access signs at the moment. We could saturate with anglers access signs, except we don't have the staff to do it. But then we likely end up with the problem at South
Invasion,
where it's too easy to find fishing places, and they're inundated with Australians coming over, and because it's so easy.
Yeah,
and
crapping in their bushes. Yeah.
Yeah. So where we've settled is coming up with. Starting off with 5, I call them fishing trails, they haven't done anything other yet. So for example, the Te Waihau Walkway, we say, hey, if you want to fish a spring creek, the Waihau, here's some information, it's a very publicly accessible spot, here's some information, this is how you might like to fish it, and here's a list of some other streams nearby which is similar, but once you figure this out, you're on your own to find access in the other areas. Go and, sort it out yourself, because if it's too easy, you can't win either way. So I guess that's my preferred approach for the short term. So we might have 5. I think we're looking at Waihau, Hinamuri, again before it was orange. A section of the Wanganui, potentially the Canny-Whanawha, even though it's in a small stream because there's a track right at the side of it. And maybe the Mangatūtu above, Corobahanga Road. Just because those are kind of iconic.
They're well known
access
anyway, yeah.
Points that are very well public, they're very well known.
It was the Arikina River that I was thinking of was a sort of a model where there was a phone number
Yeah.
somewhere there, the farmer accident was there, and then the 5 or 6 access points along the road as being parking and everything.
The Arikina is probably one of our few rivers that has that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Certainly a beautiful country out there if you get into it. For sure.
Pub trip up the Elkina River one day would be very nice. A day trip. That's
Okay. So that's a wrap, really. Next meeting, I will be fishing somewhere a long way away from here.